If you've been living under a rock for the past week, let me be the one to tell you something absolutely historic happened in Madrid, Spain on June 26, 2026. 66,000 people packed inside the Riyadh Air Metropolitano Stadium for the very first BTS concert ever held on Spanish soil. First time in Spain, ever. And in the middle of that 2.5-hour show, there was one moment, one segment, that had the entire internet stopping dead in its tracks. And that moment had everything to do with one man, ParkJimin, and a song called Body to Body. So if you want to understand why the ARMY has been completely losing their minds over the Madrid concert, and specifically why Jimin's Body to Body performance is being called one of the greatest moments of the entire Arirang World Tour, you need to watch this video all the way to the end. Because I promise you, by the time we're done here, you will have a completely new level of respect for what this man does on a stage. But before we get into it, if you're new here and you love BTS content, especially deep dives into moments that actually matter, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover BTS news, performance breakdowns, and everything in between, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming on this channel over the next few weeks. Alright, let's get into it. Let's set the scene first, because context matters. The BTS Arirang World Tour kicked off on April 9th, 2026, in Goyang, South Korea, the first full group world tour since permission to dance on stage back in 2021 and 2022. We're talking about a group that took 4 years away from the stage to complete their mandatory military service in South Korea, returned with a brand new album called Arirang, and then immediately launched into what is already being described as the biggest tour of their career. 88 plus dates, 34 cities, 23 countries. And when BTS arrived in Madrid, they weren't just opening a new leg of a tour, they were making history. Spain had been waiting for BTS for over a decade. The Map of the Soul tour, which would have been BTS's first visit to Spain back in 2020, was cancelled because of the pandemic. So when June 26, 2026 finally arrived, the emotional weight in that stadium was unlike anything a Spanish army had ever experienced before. And right there, in the middle of all that emotion, in the middle of that 23-song set list that had 66,000 people absolutely losing their minds, Body to Body showed up. And Jimin showed up with it. Now, before we talk about what happened in Madrid specifically, we need to talk about Body to Body as a song and as a performance vehicle, because not everyone who clicks on this video is going to know the full picture. Body to Body is a track off BTS's 5th studio album Arirang, released in 2026. It's not your typical K-pop banger. It has this layered, sensory quality to it, this push and pull of tension that feels almost cinematic. And embedded inside that song is a sampling of Arirang, the traditional Korean folk song that has been sung for hundreds of years. A melody that represents longing, resilience, and endurance through hardship. When a stadium full of people hears that melody woven into a modern BTS track, something deeply emotional happens. One journalist who attended the opening night in Goyang, South Korea, described it as shedding their first tears of the night the moment they heard the crowd singing along to that section. That's what Body to Body carries. It is not just a performance number, it is a statement. And then there's the dance break. Oh, the dance break. If you have been following the Arirang World Tour from any city, from any stop, you already know that the Body to Body dance break has become one of the most anticipated moments of every single night. Fan cams from Goyang, from Tokyo, from Tampa, from Stanford, from Las Vegas, from Mexico City, and now from Madrid, they all point to the same conclusion. When Body to Body hits its break, the camera finds Jimin, and the world stops. High jumps, signature spins, triple rotations, body isolations that should not be physically possible, freestyle sequences that change every single night, because that's who Jimin is. He doesn't just repeat choreography. He reinterprets it, he adds to it. He improvises in real time in front of tens of thousands of people and somehow makes it look effortless every single time. And this is where we need to step back and have an honest conversation about who ParkJimin actually is as a dancer, because I think sometimes even within the fandom, people underestimate what they're watching when they watch him perform. Jimin was the last trainee added to what would eventually become BTS. He spent only 6 months as a trainee, the shortest of any BTS member, before debuting in June 2013. But what he brought to the table that none of the other members had was a formal background in contemporary dance. He studied at Busan High School of Arts, where he was a top student in the modern dance department. He had already spent years training in classical and contemporary movement before he ever set foot in a big hit practice room. And that foundation, that years-long immersion in the language of the body, is exactly what you see every time Jimin steps onto a stage. His movements don't look like choreography being executed. They look like feelings being expressed. There is a fluidity in the way his body moves through space, a precision in the way each gesture is placed, that comes from someone who has been studying the relationship between music and movement for their entire life. In global voting conducted by the platform Dabeam in early 2026, Jimin ranked number 1 in the top 100 best male dances category for the 8th consecutive year since 2019. He also ranked first in the global voting app Cookie's Best Dancer vote with a total of 2,173,584 votes and 94% support. And Billboard once described Jimin as the king of modern dance. Those are not just fan votes and fan words. Those are numbers and titles that have been building for over a decade. And every single time Jimin gets on a stage, he adds another chapter to that legacy. In K-pop, and among BTS members, Jimin is widely regarded as an exceptional dancer, often praised for his smooth and elegant movements and his undeniable charm on stage. But what makes him different from every other dancer in K-pop is that duality, that ability to be completely angelic and completely untamed in the same 2-minute window. And nowhere does that duality show up more powerfully than in the body-to-body dance break. Jimin has cited singer Rain as one of his inspirations and reasons why he wanted to become both a singer and performer. Rain, the performer known for commanding the stage with an almost predatory intensity, and you can absolutely feel that influence when Jimin shifts from the graceful, fluid sections of body to body into the explosive freestyle moments that have been going viral from every single stop of this tour. Now, Madrid, June 26, 2026. The setlist that night was 23 songs. The confirmed setlist for Madrid Day 1 included Hooligan, Aliens, Run BTS Remix, They Don't Know About Us, Like Animals Transitioning into Fake Love Remix, Swim, Merry Go Round, 2.0, Normal, Not Today Remix, Mic Drop, FYA Fire, Body to Body, Idol, and then the encore of Come Over, Butter, Dynamite, with surprise songs Airplane PT2 and outro Wings, closing with Please and Into the Sun. That is a set list that takes you on a complete journey. From the high-energy chaos of the opening with Hooligan and Aliens, through the emotionally complex middle section with Swim and Normal, all the way into what Spanish concert reviewers call the best part of the entire show, the second act. Spanish media covering the concert noted that the second act featured dancers on stage at all times, from the glowing stick choreography of Not Today to the massive parade of Body to Body and Idol, where BTS moved through the entire stadium with huge digital flags and luminous ribbons. That parade across the stadium floor during Idol alone had 66,000 people absolutely beside themselves. But it was Body to Body that came right before it. And that transition, from the intensity of Body to Body's dance break straight into the euphoric chaos of Idol, was described by fans who were there as one of the most overwhelming sequences they have ever experienced at a live concert. Think about what Jimin is doing in that moment. He has already been on stage for over an hour. He has already performed through Hooligan, through Aliens, through Run BTS, through the emotional weight of Swim and Normal. His body has been carrying the full choreography of a world-class stadium production. And then Body to Body arrives, and instead of pulling back, instead of conserving, Jimin pours everything in. Fan cams from the Arirang tour captured Jimin's body-to-body dance break, including high jumps, spinning dance sequences, and triple spins that have been a consistent highlight discussed and shared by fans across every stop of the tour. What fan cams from across the tour have shown is that Jimin's body-to-body freestyle is never exactly the same twice. It changes, it breathes, it responds to the energy of the crowd in the room. In one city, he leans into the angelic, almost ethereal quality of a song, those slow, liquid isolations that make it look like gravity has a different relationship with him than it does with the rest of us. In another city, while Jimin takes over completely explosive, unpredictable, all sharp lines and raw energy that makes the audience physically react. Madrid got both, in the same 2 minutes. A journalist who covered the opening night of the Arirang tour in Goyang described the concert experience as watching BTS toss out the playbook, noting that while there may be slightly less traditional full choreography than in past tours as they navigate more than 80 dates, the moments of full-out dancing are more than enough, and the group's stage presence remains otherworldly, with new cuts like Body to Body being particularly engaging. And that's exactly the point. This is not a group that is playing it safe over a long tour. This is a group, and specifically, Jimin is a performer that understands the contract they have with the people in that stadium. Every single person who bought a ticket, who traveled from wherever they traveled from, who waited years for BTS to come to Spain for the first time, every single one of them deserves the full version of what BTS can do. And Jimin delivers the full version every night. Rolling Stone's May 2026 special issue, which featured all 7 BTS members, described J-Hope as a fierce rapper rivaled only by the formally trained Jimin as the dancingest member of BTS. That phrasing, the formally trained Jimin, is important. Because what you are watching in Madrid, what you are watching in every body-to-body fan cam from this tour is not just raw talent. It is the product of a life dedicated to understanding movement. It is the result of years in a contemporary dance program, years in a big hit practice room, years of performing on stages of every size, and then years of military service where he couldn't perform publicly at all, and still came back in 2026 and looked like he had never left the stage. In a Rolling Stone interview, Jimin himself revealed that when working on his solo music like Be Mine and Who, he and his producer specifically made the songs thinking they would be great for him to dance to, and he even created choreography he wanted to share with fans before his military service interrupted those plans. That tells you everything. Even when Jimin is making music, he is thinking in movement. The dance is never separate from the song for him. And when he performs Body to Body, you feel that the song and the movement are coming from the same place inside him. Now let's talk about the context of Madrid specifically, because the dance doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists inside an emotional night that was already at a fever pitch before BTS even walked on stage. Fans have been gathering outside the Riyadh Air Metropolitano since the early morning hours. Days before the Madrid concerts, fans were already arriving in the city from France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and many other countries across Europe. Local media described Madrid as being filled with army ahead of the concerts, creating an atmosphere usually reserved for the world's biggest sporting events. So the crowd inside that stadium on June 26th was not a regular crowd. This was a crowd that had traveled from across Europe, many of them seeing BTS for the very first time in person. Many of them had been ARMY for 5, 8, 10 years or more and had never had the chance to be in the same room as BTS. And when Body to Body started, when that music filled a stadium of 66,000 people who had waited this long, and then Jimin's body took over that stage, the reaction was immediate and total. Spanish media, reviewing the concert, noted that all members of BTS had a magnetic aura rarely seen at any concert, and that the level of energy that erupted whenever the camera found one of the members, including Jimin, only added to that already overwhelming atmosphere. That is what makes a great dancer in a live context. It is not just about technical execution, though Jimin's technical execution is elite, the kind that results from over a decade of professional performance. It is about whether the person on the stage can transmit something through their movement that bypasses the rational brain entirely and goes straight to the emotional core of the person watching. And Jimin does that every single time. In Madrid, in a stadium that was experiencing BTS live for the first time in its country's history, in front of 66,000 people who were already emotionally charged before the show even started, he did it again. And by the time Body to Body transitioned into Idol, by the time BTS was parading across the floor of that stadium with flags and ribbons and 66,000 purple lights moving in unison, the whole thing felt like something out of a dream. But it was real. It happened. And the fact that it happened at the end of a tour stretch that started all the way back in Goyang in April, that it happened after every Tampa night, every Stanford show, every Las Vegas performance, every Mexico City date, the fact that Jimin is still performing at that level that far into a massive world tour, that his body-to-body dance break in Madrid looked just as powerful, just as committed, just as alive as it did on opening night. That is what separates the great from the truly legendary. Jimin has been described as the Jimin genre, an artistic stage that combines classical and hip-hop dances into something entirely his own. There isn't a category for what he does. There isn't another artist in K-pop, or arguably in pop music globally, who moves exactly the way he moves. The blend of his contemporary dance foundation, his years of K-pop performance training, his natural musicality, and that untamable wild quality that comes out in moments like the body-to-body dance break, all of it together creates something that cannot be replicated. And Madrid got to experience that firsthand. Here's what I want you to sit with. BTS first tried to come to Spain in 2020. The Map of the Soul tour had Madrid on the schedule. It got cancelled. Spanish Army waited 6 years. 6 years of watching concerts from other countries on their screens. 6 years of following every tour stop that happened somewhere that wasn't home. And then June 26th, 2026 arrived, and for the first time, BTS was finally in Madrid. And during that show, during Body to Body, Jimin stood on that stage and reminded 66,000 people, and through the fan cams and clips that have since gone viral, millions more around the world, exactly why he holds the title of main dancer. Not just of BTS, but of his entire generation. At the end of the Madrid concert, Jimin delivered one of the most emotional moments of the night, telling the crowd through an interpreter, "I kept thinking, why are we only visiting Spain now? For the next tour, we won't leave Madrid out." And the stadium erupted, because the feeling was completely mutual. If you made it this far in this video, I genuinely appreciate you. This is the kind of content that matters to me, not just celebrating that something happened, but actually digging into why it happened and what it means. Jimin's body-to-body in Madrid is not just a viral fancam moment. It is a demonstration of what a lifetime of dedication to your craft looks like when it meets the right stage, the right crowd, and the right song. And I am so glad we got to break it down together today. Now I want to hear from you. If you were at Madrid, I need you in the comments right now. What was the body-to-body moment like from inside the stadium? And for everyone else, what do you think makes Jimin's dance style so different from everyone else performing right now? Drop your thoughts below, because the comment section on this video is going to be one for the books. Don't forget to like this video if you learned something or felt something watching it. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Subscribe if you haven't already. And share this with an army who needs to see this breakdown, because honestly, every single one of us deserves to fully appreciate what we witnessed in Madrid. I'll see you in the next one. Stay with BTS Army. Always.